I went on antidepressants in the middle of my divorce, and I got off of them as soon as it was finalized. Not because I didn't think I needed them anymore, but because I had a plan. And today I want to share exactly why I made that decision, how I did it safely, and what I learned along the way. If you're going through something similar, whether it's divorce, depression, or figuring out your mental health, I hope this gives you some insight, or at least lets you know you're not alone. Welcome to my colorful life after a great divorce. My name's Regan, also known as the Easy Ex-Wife, and on this channel, we talk all about divorce, dating, living in New York City, and living your best life after the age of 50. Let me take you back to the beginning and the emotional roller coaster that is divorce. It causes anxiety, sleeplessness, hopelessness, and just all around difficulty functioning. The highs and lows when I was going through my divorce were absolutely exhausting. 1 minute, I wouldn't be thinking about the divorce. I'd be out walking with a friend or just doing something I enjoyed. And then the next minute, it would be like I was just smacked with a ball right in the head and just fell into a dark hole. And, you know, I talk about the highs and lows, but there weren't many highs. It was usually just low and lower, and then the lowest you can go. And when I hit that rock bottom point, that's when I realized this is not just sadness. I couldn't think straight. I was just spiraling, and I knew I needed help. And I didn't want to wait till tomorrow to get help. I needed help now. Who out there can relate? And I've got to say, I should have won an Oscar for the way I was getting through my days, because a lot of people didn't even know what I was going through. But it was by far 100% the hardest thing I have ever gone through. And I've mentioned this in a couple other videos. My divorce happened about a year after my dad passed, and the divorce was so much harder. And it's not that I don't love my dad so much. I miss him. I think about him every single day. But he was older. He was fighting depression. He had cancer. It was inevitable. I mean, it is inevitable. We are all going to die one day. So when I hit rock bottom and I knew I needed to do something about it, antidepressants were recommended to me. And I really want to normalize the experience on going on antidepressants, because there is a stigma surrounding any sort of medication for a mental health issue. And one of the things people think is that only weak people go on antidepressants. In fact, it was a long time before I even mentioned it to my mom, because my mom, she said, "But you're such a strong person, just go out for a run. That should cure it." And going out for a run does not cure it when you've hit rock bottom. So people might think it's a sign of weakness, but in retrospect, it was the strongest decision I ever made, aside from finally getting a divorce. So at the time, I was seeing a therapist. If you've watched any of my other videos, my husband or my ex and I did go to therapy for a little while, and then we stopped. We finally went back, had one session, and my ex was like, "I'm done, I'm not going back." But I continued with the therapy because it was really helpful for me, and I was experiencing those lows and lows and lowest moments. So I want to talk through my experience of going on an antidepressant with you guys. I did get them from my therapist, and I know not all therapists can prescribe them, so I think it depends on what their background is, and I don't know exactly what that is, so I apologize for that. But I wanted to talk to you about when I started taking them. I can't even remember what they were called, but I went on the absolute lowest dose that you could go on. I think it was Zoloft. is Zoloft an antidepressant? I think that's what it was. But I went on the lowest possible dose. And he had told me it would take a little bit of time for it to kick in, which it did. It was about 2 weeks when I was out walking Fiona and I realized, wow, I haven't had any of these really low moments. Not to say I didn't cry on the bathroom floor or I didn't experience some lows. I totally did. I was going through a divorce. Most of my days consisted of lows at the time. And I was afraid to go on them because someone told me, they said, well, you're not going to have the low lows, but you're also not going to have the high highs. And then I was thinking, when's the last time I had a high? It's been a long time. Like when you're going through a divorce, there's not a whole lot of really good stuff that's happening. You know, even when there is a joyful moment, it just never seems as joyful because of the pain and the stress that your body is going through. So for me, there wasn't really an adjustment period. It took a couple weeks, it kicked in, and I didn't have any doubts that I was doing the wrong thing because I had hit rock bottom and I wanted to just see if something could help me even just make a decision, because one day I would be 100% positive we should get a divorce. The next day I would wake up and be like, no, we've got to work through it. So, you know, talk about a roller coaster of emotions. It was, you know, every other day I was experiencing this roller coaster. So there was no doubt in my mind that I needed to try something. And yeah, when it did kick in, I just noticed, you know, I can't say I was full of joy, but things just seemed a tiny bit better. And I didn't go to those super low lows. And ultimately, I think it did help me finally make the decision that was right for me. And I know some people do experience side effects with an antidepressant, but maybe because mine was such a low dose, I did not experience any side effects other than the medication doing what it was supposed to do. No stomach upset or headaches or anything like that. So basically, it didn't make me numb, it made me more functional. I could get out of bed a little easier, I could think clearly, and I could even cry when I needed to without completely falling apart. So let's now talk a little bit about life post-divorce. Oh, but first I do need to mention, like right before I moved out, I remember my ex saying, because I did tell him I was going on these antidepressants because, you know, this whole divorce was just killing me and knocking me down so hard. He said to me, well, I hope you have found a good doctor in New York City that can prescribe your meds for you, because you'll probably need to stay on them the rest of your life. Little did he know, I was planning on going off of them once I got settled. So yeah, let's talk about post-divorce. Now, once I moved to New York, I stayed on the antidepressants a little bit because our divorce was not finalized. So I always knew there was like the teeniest, tiniest chance of reconciliation. So I stayed on the meds because I really wanted to keep my wits about me. So I'm living in New York, just got here, and I'm on the medication, and I made the smart decision to stay on the medication a little bit just until I knew the divorce papers were signed. And once the divorce papers were signed and that huge, humongous weight was lifted off my shoulders, and I was feeling good living in New York, and, you know, pretty sure I made the right decision. I mean, I don't know if you're ever 100% sure you made the right decision, but I was feeling pretty good about what my life was going to look like moving forward. So I made the choice to wean myself off, because if you don't know this about antidepressants, you do not want to stop cold turkey. But because I had gotten through the move and everything was going pretty well, and I was feeling good about the divorce, and I was really busy moving and doing all that stuff, I just put therapy on hold, and I actually have not seen my therapist since I moved here. I have considered getting a new one, or maybe getting someone in New York City, because I did like seeing him in person. I know there are lots of websites now, like BetterHelp, that people rave about, but it's definitely something I would consider in the future. But I did talk to him about how I go off the antidepressant. And I also did a little research online. And so what I did was I cut all of mine in half and started just taking half of it every single day. And I did that for about 2 weeks. And then after that, I started taking that half every other day. And I did that for, I think, about 2 weeks. And then I would go a couple days without taking one. And then eventually I just stopped altogether. And that worked really, really well for me. So here are my takeaways from being on an antidepressant. Antidepressants are not permanent failures or quick fixes. They're tools, and healing is not linear. You're not weak for needing help, and you're not stronger for getting off the meds. This journey has taught me that healing is not a checklist. It's messy, it's slow, but it is possible. And medication can be a part of that, just like therapies, boundaries, and self-respect. If you're on antidepressants right now, or thinking about it, or thinking about getting off of them, my advice is to be honest with yourself. Don't rush. Get help, and trust your timeline. And if you're in the middle of a divorce or any kind of heartbreak, just know that this version of you is not permanent. You will get through this. And I know so many people told me that, and when you are in the depths of hell, it doesn't feel like that, but you will. You will get through this. If this helped you in any way, or you want to share your story, please drop a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you, and I know the rest of this community would love to hear from you as well. Oh, let's head inside real quick so I have enough room to show you what I'm wearing today. And by the way, putting yourself together can be one of the teeny tiniest simple things that you can do to just help yourself feel a little better. It's a tiny win that can go a long way. Okay, you guys, here is my outfit today. The pants are a throwback. These are J. Crew, and they are old. I mean, I want to say probably 7, 8, maybe even 9 or 10 years old, but they've held up. They wash well. They're super comfortable. They're pretty light, and that is one of the things I really like about J. Crew is most of it is not fast fashion, and it stands up to the test of time. And even though these might not be the most fashionable pair of pants, I don't think they're out of fashion, and I think they're just a classic. So they're really comfy, and they're light, so they're good for, today's a summer day, but it's not that hot today, and it's not too humid, so it's perfect summer pant. And then this is also J. Crew. This is a little linen vest. I bought this last summer, and vests are still in, and I think vests stand the test of time as well. So that's what I'm wearing today. Oh, and a little Grace Foley hat. You guys have seen this one before, one of my favorites. I wear it all the time, and I usually wear hats when I don't feel like washing my hair, which is most of the time. And yeah, that's it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I love you guys, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.